On tonight's episode of Under the Hood, we're doing things a little bit different. We went down to Chris Nolan to do an interview and hopefully grab about 20 minutes of footage. His story blew us away. So here's the full episode. Chris, thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
Take the time, Chris.
And what we're trying to do in these sections of Under the Hood is bring you behind the doors of different garages around the country. And if you would like to be featured on this, do get in touch and we'll have a chat and give you the meet up with you and do a bit of recording. Chris, tell us a wee bit about yourself before you go back to the start.
Back to the start.
Go back
I'm
to the day before you had the spanner.
I'm going to show me age here now.
Go back before you had the spanner in your hand.
Yeah. I started my apprenticeship in 1991 with my dad. My dad had his own garage on the Willie Nolan Road in Balbriggan. Real old school garage. I was telling Keith earlier, no ramps, everything was on a trolley jack.
Yeah.
I actually like things that you need night vision in the place to move.
Yeah, you need night vision to see where you're going in the place. But my dad was very talented tradesman, done panel beating, rebuilt engines, restored cars, done all that. He was very good, but it was an old school garage and things were hard back then because it was like just the 80s had just gone, so nobody had any money and it was hard. It was a hard time. So my dad got me an apprenticeship in Certa Motors in the Renault dealership because my dad used to be a mechanic there. He was one of the main mechanics there at the time. My dad was a Renault mechanic, worked in Smiths and Coolock. And then he went to Certa Motors and I think he left and went out on his own. But I got an apprenticeship there in, I think it was 1992. Started serving my time probably and I stayed there for my apprenticeship. I could have stayed on a little bit longer, but to be honest, it wasn't a nice place to work. It's gone since. Your man sold the garage and was on prime property in Clontarf looking out into the seafront there. But I served my time with some really good fellas, like proper old school mechanics, like fellas that could make things, welding, rebuilding.
If you didn't have a part, you'd make it.
Yeah, rebuilding gearboxes. Like working on Renault 4s. Remember the old Renault 4 post vans with the column shift gears, yeah? Them type of vans, Renault 12s. Well, before your time, lads, anyway. But yeah, would have been it was a hard place to work back then. The motor trade was hard back then and very underpaid. Like seriously underpaid. I think my first week's wages was £42 a week as a first year apprentice. I think a qualified mechanic back then was on £170 a week. Whereas if you were a bricklayer or a carpenter, you were on 300. So like nearly double. So it wasn't a great trade. And I think.
Of course, you say it's not a great trade, but
great paying trade at the time.
Aye, so paying was just
yeah.
So to differentiate. It's not that it wasn't a great trade, it's just the pay wasn't great.
Yeah, but that never bothered me.
You had to have a love of cars to be able to put up with that.
100%. I was crazy about cars since I was a kid. And because my dad was a mechanic, that's all I wanted to be. My dad didn't want me to be a mechanic. He was trying to push me towards the building trade. Or because I was good at sport, he wanted me to stay in school and be a PE teacher. And I was just like, no, I want to be a mechanic. I was just hell-bent on becoming a mechanic because I was just crazy about cars. The money didn't really come into it for me.
Yeah, it was in you. You wanted to do it.
Yeah, I wanted to do it, I couldn't think of anything else to do. But as I said, Certa Motors was a hard place to work. Put it this way, I think there was only myself and two other lads finished their apprenticeship in the place. And there would have been like fellas, it was like a revolving door for apprentices. They just didn't last. Be gone after a few months or after a year.
And when you say the conditions, like, was it the workshop conditions? Was it the equipment? Was it the cars?
The garage itself, like, I think there was 5 ramps in it, I think. I'm trying to think now, it was that long ago. These 5 ramps in it. 5 ramps in it. Like from what I would have been used to walking in my dad's, it was like luxury.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you had your 4 ramps, tire machine, stuff like that. Did a gas analyzer. They actually had a diagnostic equipment. I think it was called a clip, a Renault
That was
clip.
the original clip, yeah, the Renault was a clip.
It was just like a box. It was a weird looking thing. But the foreman only used that. Nobody else used it. You weren't allowed
And he
near
was
it.
good, you weren't, no one else let touch it.
You know, and
You're saying it was a revolving door. I know in the place where I served my time, you know, there was an element, there was one person that was creating a toxic environment. Was that, you know, I mean?
yeah, it was the service manager.
Yeah.
He wasn't a nice man at all, you know what I mean? He was very, very hard to work for. And expected a lot out of you from a young age. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was I 16, 17, I think. Like, and you're doing, it's not like it, but when lads have been working for me, I sort of trained them a little bit different, you know. We were thrown in at the deep end, like, you know what I mean? Like, proper at the deep end. And if something went wrong, they're blaming you on it. Rather than, why isn't the senior fella keeping an eye on you here, you know what I mean? So you have to learn very fast, you know what I mean? You have to learn, it could be an anxious environment to walk in as well, you know, but I think it stood to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It did stand to me.
And when after you finished down in Clontarf, where did you go back to that, or where did you go?
I left about 2 weeks before I was out of my time because I couldn't stand the service manager. I just couldn't stick him any longer. I was just, I'm done here. I can't deal with him any longer. I went and I got a job just up the road from my house. I'm from Donaghmede in Crossants Opel Centre. Remember on the Malahide Road?
One Dundalk as well.
I only worked there a couple of months and then I seen an advertisement for a job in Joe Duffy's in the BMW dealership. And I always loved Beamers. And you'd very rarely get BMWs in any of the garages I worked in because they all used to go to the dealer to get them serviced and stuff. So I went for an interview up there and they took me on straight away. And I think that's where I started to really learn. Yeah. Learn my trade was in Duffy's because there was some really good fellas there, really talented fellas. There was a fella there, he was the foreman, Carl Grogan. He was a brilliant mechanic. He worked in BMW in Chicago. And it was the first time I met a fella that was, you know, brilliant on at doing diagnostics and wiring work. And they had like a proper diagnostic platform in Joe Duffy's then. I forget what it was called. It wasn't this. I can't think of it.
DIS or something.
DIS.
Yeah.
And he was really good. And there was a couple other really good lads there. But again, the service manager he was a bleeding. He was a nightmare to work for. But I stayed there for a few years and I loved it. I loved working in Duffy's.
And it's a common thing to hear that someone left somewhere because of someone. Do you know, we all had our issues. I don't know you, but I know I know La had issues with one of the places he worked with certain guys. And in hindsight, I think if I had to spoke up, we were nearly afraid to complain about the person that was causing the problem. Because we were young.
You couldn't complain about Ant when you were in Clontarf because you just get sacked. It wasn't like nowadays where the employee has rights and you can't speak to people a certain way, which is right as well. You need to be treated with a bit of respect as well when you're working in places. You were taught very little of, I found, years ago in the motor trade, like especially by salesmen and that, you know, you were just the lowly mechanic, which is very unfair because you were probably one of the most talented employees there, and mechanics were, you know. I thought people sort of looked down on it for years, on that trade. For what reason, I don't know, but they always did, and we were always the most poorly paid trade as well.
I think it was possibly because a lot of us were, my hands are a lot cleaner now than they used to be, but when I started off, you're a general, and we're all the same. You go home at the weekends, your hands are generally black. I don't know if there's a perception of, you know, I don't like using this term, but the grease monkey, that old oil.
But that's what you wear, like, that's what people used to call you.
But I think people just see that dirty trade and think, well, that's a dirty old job, but they don't realise the technical, what's behind it.
Yeah, but my perception changed when I went to work for Joe Duffy's, the BMW. It was the first time I seen a clean workshop in my life. because even coming from a Renault main dealer, it was a good garage, good mechanics. The standard of work being put out was really good, I thought. But when I went to Joe Duffy's, my mind completely changed. You weren't allowed to be dirty. Yeah. Like, we had overalls when I worked in Renault. When I went to Joe Duffy's, the first time I seen Snickers, trousers and buttons and a B&W service written on your back, and the workshop was immaculate clean. You had to have clean overalls on every day. You weren't allowed to go around with a dirty face and hands. You know, the service manager wasn't a nice bloke, but he was very good at running the workshop, and you had to abide by his rules and how the workshop. But that all stood to me later down the road, you know what I mean? Because it was good training, and it was good to work in that environment where you had to use wing covers, bonnet covers, you had to have seat covers.
Great training, yeah.
Yeah, there was good training, and your tools had to be kept immaculate.
Back to you down the road.
Yeah.
And while we're on this point, obviously we've all spoke about the modern car and how we like working on certain makes and models. You still like BMWs as obviously you're a specialist in one in them, shall I say? How would you compare Renault to BMW back 30 years ago? Like, you know that it's night and day now to work on the two different cars.
To be honest with you, Renault years ago were a really, really difficult car to work on. Nobody liked working on them, especially like the old stuff like Renault 4s, Renault 5s, 12s, 18s. Like they were actually a really good car. And the Renault diesel engines were fantastic years ago, but they were just a nightmare to work on. Like, every aspect of it was a nightmare, and everybody hated working on Renaults. So I think years ago, even when I was in college, you'd be talking to different fellas in the class and all, and like, there was me and another lad worked on Citroens, and they just thought, how do you work on them cars, you know?
I don't think much has changed.
That's what I'm saying. That's the point that I'm getting at.
BMWs, like, you look at a BMW now, they're engineered to fail. Everything's made of plastic, right? You get a BMW, say an E30 or an E28, everything, all the housings and stuff were made of aluminium. Everything was like engineered really, really well. They were almost bulletproof, like the M20 engines and all. They were bulletproof and beautiful cars, like, to work on. Fantastic machines once they were all maintained correctly, you know. Whereas BMWs, like, they had this perception of being a luxury car. They were actually a lot easier to work on than a Renault. The Renault was much harder. And I think that stood to me when I went to work for Duffy's. When I'm working on all these BMWs, I'm like, this is handy. Renaults were a nightmare, you know what I mean? They were a nightmare. But the BMW customer was different than the Renault customer, do you get me?
But to see now coming on from that, where do you, after you come out of BMW, or at what point did you say, what was your next move after that?
I just got this itch because even though I was working with a dealer, the sales department used to give me all the second-hand cars to do mixers on at night time. I think that's why the service manager didn't like me, because they used to give me all the sales work, the after-sales work on the second-hand stuff. And I used to get all that, and they used to give me cash.
Right.
So I'd be mixing every night, and back then I had like a cantilever toolbox, right, and I had small snap-on tool chest. I used to fill my cantilever box full of tools. And then he used to go to a fella in Ashbourne, Christy Copeland. He used to buy all the second-hand BMWs off of Dublin. Yeah. I used to do all the BMWs in his shed at night time. I'd be rebuilding M20 engines for him and M40 engines, the camshafts and all. He used to go on them. So he'd buy all them off Duffy's, and I'd go and rebuild the engines on them at night time. And my wages were horrendous in Duffy's. £188 a week I was getting. I was making £80 a night working for Christy Copeland. Yeah. So and it was Christy Copeland sort of planted the seed in me, you should go out on your own. Oh yeah, maybe you should. Then I got a little place in Meekstown Cottages in Finglas, and I was just doing BMs every night, and then that just spiraled into sort of a little business. But you can be a good mechanic, but it's a different story when you get all the bills coming in on top of that.
The business end of it.
The business end of it. And that's where I struggled for years.
But did you go out on your own at that point?
Yeah, I just something happened in Joe Dovey's. And at the time there was plans for the big place that is now Joe Dovey's. And I remember that, and I was supposed to be part of the plan to go there, along with all the other staff. But when it materialised, I think only one of the mechanics ended up going there. The rest of them all left and went on to different things. And I just decided maybe it's time I just go out on my own, do my own thing, you know, because I was inundated with people wanting me to do BMs.
Yeah.
So I just went down, so I'd give it a bash, you know.
And where did you go first?
Meekstown Cottages in Finglas, at a small place, no ramp, just trolley jacks.
Just back to your basic.
Yeah. And it was more like a hobby though, do you know what I mean? I didn't see it as a business. It was more like a hobby because before that, like I used to do all my mixes in the front garden in my ma's. My parents would be going bleeding mental. Like my dad has his own garage, but I still didn't use it.
Yeah.
My dad'd come home from work on a Saturday and I'd have the whole side of the road. Like my ma's is a corner house, so the whole side I'd have about 6 cars lined up with all the bonnets on, all BMWs. I'd be just going bananas. And I'd be under them draining oil and all, you know what I mean? Doing clutches on the side of the road, and like, because Joe was used to do Mitsubishi as well, I used to do loads of Pajeros. I'd be pulling gearboxes out on the side of the road outside my man's Pajeros on my back.
Not sure why you've arms as big as you have.
Yeah. Just with 2 little trolley jacks, you know what I mean? So I said, I have to get out of here because my dad's gonna kill me. So I took that place in Meekstown. I think my rent was 80 quid a month, and I thought that was a fortune. You know what I mean? I was going, how am I going to pay this? You know what I mean? So I stayed there for a good few years, and I was still doing a bit of work for Christy Copeland, and I got a chance then to get another place. There was a remember Top Oils, the petrol stations. There was one in Kinseely. I'm from Donamead, so I wasn't too far from my ma's. And I was at the back. It was like, you know, like them, like little service units at the back of they were basically built for mechanics, but it was only one service bay. And I seen this advertisement, 500 quid a month. 500 quid a month, yeah, I was a 300, something like that. Three
Big jump though from the 80 that you were paying, yeah.
Massive, but I had a ramp in it. To Calumet ramp I had. It's the same ones we had in Renault. It was old, but like it was a lovely little service bay, toilet and a small little workbench and a ramp. So I just took it, painted it all up, and I was there for a good few years. And then I had the opportunity to go to a bigger place with somebody else, and I think that's when everything went wrong. Then, you know. I went in with another fella, sort of like a partnership in a big place, and it just went downhill quick from there, you know what I mean? Couldn't pay me bills. You're chasing your tail because you're on your own, like, you know what I mean? It's very hard to run a business on your own because I was after getting so busy. Fixing cars was no longer the issue. It was accounts, running the business, making sure you keep on top of paying your bills and all that. And I was dreadful at it, like, you know what I mean? You'd constantly owe money, like, you know.
There's a lot of mechanics that wouldn't be, and this is where, and I do always say it's never been a better time to be a mechanic and to go out on your own and do things, because we still need the training. We still need to start off with someone else and get up to speed and do what we have to do to get to be a qualified mechanic. But one of the things I don't know about you, actually you said that you had a good friend as an accountant and steered you.
Yeah, that's
I know
right.
myself, the rest of us, we all struggled because when you do your apprenticeship, the last thing the dealership wants you to know is anything about to do with the business. They're to come and do that and go home. And there's no business training at all, which there is now.
There's none, like, you're learning on the job all the time.
Of course,
like. And like, it can be unforgiving as well, you know what I mean? Like, and then obviously I started fixing cars because I loved cars. I wasn't in it for the money. But I mean, if I wanted the money, I would have joined all my mates and got an apprenticeship as a brickie or a plasterer and be making big money, you know what I mean? Like, they were all making big money when I was earning pittance. But I was doing it because I loved it, and I loved fixing cars.
And to see when you were doing that, right? Had you got a dream in your head?
Oh yeah.
Was this the dream?
100%. Like, I was always in the back of my head, one day I'll have a big garage, one day. And, you know, my dad be just going, "You're in dreamland." You know, it's so hard to get there, you know what I mean? But I always had in my head, I will have a big garage one day. I will have lads working for me. But then, like, sometimes you be questioning yourself and say, it's never going to happen, because, like, when I left that little unit in Concedi and I went working with somebody else and took on the big bills and all that, it went sour so quick. Ended up owning a fortune. Got to the stage, couldn't pay parts bills, and I was wondering why. I'm working all the time, I've no money. Like, I'm working all the time, like, I've been rolling into the house 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning. Like, I'm in work since 9 o'clock, like. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
And back up the next morning.
Yeah, and back at it again the next morning, and all day Saturday. My hands would be swollen from working on cars, like manky dirty. But yeah, I'd never have a bleeding penny. Do you know what I mean? And then I used to look at other lads, and they were all in the same boat, bar one or two fellas that you'd look at and go, how come he has the garage? How come he's driving a nice car? Because before I took on all the responsibility of running the business, when it was just Nixon and working in a dealership, I had a nice car. You know what I mean? I had the Peugeot GTIs and the Golf GTIs. I had all that. You know what I mean? Then I'm working for myself, take on more responsibility. I'm driving the Toyota charade van. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just to be able to pay the bills.
Yeah, so.
And then what, after that, you're saying that went sour. What was your next move then?
I jacked it in. I said, it was too stressful. I was after getting married, and I bought a house, and I was just finding it too stressful working for myself and my wife at the time. She wasn't happy with it either, so never at home, always in work. Stupid o'clock coming in the door. People always owed me money. It was very hard to get paid. There were some people who was doing a lot of trade work, fellas giving me the run around, you know. So it was a nightmare. It was just a nightmare. It was so stressful. So I got a job in a dealership as a foreman. So I was a workshop foreman for a couple of years in a place called Ken Lawford's.
Oh, right, yeah, that was in a
Nissan dealership.
Yeah.
And how I got the job was, I went in, there was a Nissan 300ZX twin turbo, all stripped on a bench, right? All the big long bench, there was 2 turbos, 2 heads, everything was disassembled, it was in bits. Put that back together. So I put it back together, got the car running, had it running within 2 weeks. And everyone says, you want a job as a foreman here? Well, I took the job. And I said, I'll do it, but I want a car. Got a car. But I was never happy. Yeah. It was after about 6 months, I was going, this isn't for me. I hated every minute of it. I couldn't stand it. And the money was crap as well.
Well, what did you hate? What was the... Did you ever identify what...
I just had that hunger in me, that I could do it, that I could have my own garage. Because that's what I wanted, you know what I mean? I'm not knocking fellas that work for other people. Some people are great at working for other people and they're happy with that. And there was a stage in my life where that's where I was at, and I was happy. It's working for yourself is not for everybody. But I always wanted the garage.
That hunger.
I wanted my own garage. I wanted people working for me.
The dream.
I wanted the dream. And I was determined to get there, you know what I mean? So I said I'd give it another bash. And I did. I went to, where did I go? Ballycoolan. I opened a place in Ballycoolan after I left Ken Lawford's. I borrowed some money and bought some new equipment. And I went in there and I was doing very well actually. I was on my own and I took on a guy. We were doing well, I was busy all the time and I started doing everything. I wasn't just doing BMWs, I was doing everything and we got broken into. All my equipment got robbed, all my tools. I just took a loan out from the bank. I bought a new brain bead diagnostic system at the time with a gas analyzer, diesel tester, everything. Like I had everything in the place. They cleaned the whole place out. Drove a truck through the front door, big 40-foot rigid, had them on video camera like. They robbed everything, took everything on me. I had no insurance.
Oh no.
I had no insurance. Well, that just destroyed me. I remember ringing my dad like it was yesterday. I was just bawling my eyes out, crying. Because everything I worked for was just gone like that.
Stolen.
I found out who took the stuff, some gang from Blanchardstown. I had to give them €6,000 to get my stuff back. But I didn't get all of it back, I only got some of it back. Then I was only getting stuff back into the place. They come up and robbed me Jeep. I had a brand new Ford Ranger at the time. They come up, robbed that, rang me, we want more money off me. I just told them to keep the Jeep. He says, burn it. I says, don't care, that's insured, you can keep it. But we found out what the Jeep was. I went up and took it with the spare key, got that back, sold it, got rid of it straight away. And then we came in one morning and all the cars outside, they were all after smashing all the windows and dancing all over the cars. So that was it for me. I was like, I'm done. I was just...
Isn't it horrible to think that, when you're in giving your all, trying to build your business and chase your dream, because that's what you're doing, you're chasing your dream. And there's people out there that just
do that. It's madness.
That are happy to take your dream away from you.
But it's happened to loads of mechanics where people, they've been robbed and cleared out and all their tools gone. And it wasn't even that, it was some of my hand tools. It wasn't even some of the expensive equipment I had that annoyed me. It was some of the hand tools
But you
I
had
had.
from start.
I had tools that I had when I started in Clontarf Motors, tools my dad gave me, and tools I made for doing certain jobs, like for taking injector pumps off Renault 19s. You know what I mean? Just stupid little things, all gone, like, you know what I mean? So that devastated me. And I used to do work for a fella well known in the motor trade, him and his brother George Cosgrave and Kevin Cosgrave. And George used to do all the car sales on Dorset Street. He's dead now, God bless him, but he was a lovely man. And he used to give me loads of work, but his brother was a mechanic and his brother had opened a new garage in Swords. He had his own little garage in Dorset Street as well. Like an old school back street garage, real old school mechanic, but a gentleman, absolute gentleman. To this day, best fella I've ever worked for. He was so nice. I was the first mechanic, I'd say, to be getting £1,000 a week. And I'm talking, this is a long time ago. I think I was taking home about £850 a week, something like that. And he used to let me do my mixers there because I just lost, part of me soul got taken away after that incident with the garage. Like, it really got me. So he said, why don't you come work with me? I'm out in a new place, you run the workshop, bring what gear you have with you, you know. I worked there for a while, but something happened in his business, nothing to do with me, or something happened anyway. I had to go anyway. So I just said I'd go back out on my own. I started a new place in Balbriggan Industrial Estate. I started doing all the BMs again. Put a lot of money into it. This was in 2008, I think, bad time. Put a heap of money into it, new ramps, everything. Put a lot of money into it. Then the crash came. And we had massive rent, massive rates. Had a fella working for me. Nobody was spending any money. You know what I mean? Everybody was getting the bare minimum done on that car, and I was stuck with all these bills. I just couldn't do it on my own. Like, it was a nightmare. So I lost that business. that just went down the toilet. And I was going through a bad time personally as well. My marriage was just finished.
So she had a run.
Yeah, so everything was going wrong in my life. Like,
You got it from every angle.
yeah, so every which way. So my marriage went. I was devastated about that. And I didn't really work for a while. Was doing a bit here and there. Next was me dad, the garage at the back of the house. I was using that to do a bit of work. I was getting by and paying me bills.
Yeah.
And I bought a van, a Merc Vito van, put all my tools into the back of it. I was just doing mobile stuff, was doing a lot of trade work.
Right.
A fella ring me off the BM's giving problems, come in and have a look at it. And I just doing that for a while.
Yeah.
And it was handy. It was dead handy. You know what I mean? I'd get up in the morning and say, 2 jobs to do today. Do a service, set of brakes. That was me. I was happy enough just getting a half decent wage. I'd hardly any overheads apart from putting diesel in my van. But it was hard because pissing rain, freezing cold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That could ruin the day for you very
Back to
quickly.
not fulfilling that hunger that you had.
Yeah, but the back of my head, I'm just going, is this it for me? All them years of just working hard, long hours, marriage going, bleeding, taking out loans, equipment getting robbed. Says it has to be for something. It can't be all in vain, you know what I mean? But 2 friends of mine, I had met one of them. I left there, I worked for a Volkswagen dealership, and I had met a fella, a Mercedes mechanic, brilliant fella, Derek McGinley, Bushman. I met him. I only worked there briefly. And he was after starting his own place here, where we're standing now. Him and his cousin, 2 Merc mechanics, 2 great lads. Still talk to them to this day. One of them is a customer here now because he's out of the trade altogether. They had this place, so I used to come in every now and again, do a couple of BMs, and go off, and they get me back when they needed me, and then ask me one day would I come and work here. So I still had my van, you know what I mean? So I said, nah, I'll do it. So I worked here for 2.5 years. Things weren't going too well. Financially, again, you can be the best mechanic in the world, but if you don't have the business head or understand how a business works, it can go wrong very quickly, and it's through no fault of your own. It's just
knowledge.
training. You're not trained for it. Like you went to college for 4 years to learn how to fix cars. You didn't go and get a business degree on how to run a business or how to deal with staff or how to plan ahead or any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we did the level 7, which it's only recently that there is actually something to follow on from your level 6, which is apprenticeship. And half, the course was definitely split in 2, where half was about electric vehicles and science and engineering of that, but the other half was about running the business. So unfortunately, as I say, a while back then there was nothing, but now all of a sudden, whether you go and study in college or go to the likes of Andy Sav and whatnot, there is people out there that can help you.
Oh yeah, but years ago, even you go back 10 years ago, there was no help. We used to be trying to look up things on the internet years ago.
Yeah. And your accountant wouldn't help you either.
Yeah, you're trying to get help to understand how to run a business, like. And I didn't know, like, I didn't know my arse from my elbow half at the time, you know what I mean? You're just learning as you go along. And when I got the opportunity to take this place, the 2 lads, Derek had just wanted out of the motor trade. He wanted to do something different. He sort of lost the love for it. And I didn't blame them, because the motor trade can be, it's a hard game to get right. You know what I mean? And especially as a tradesman. So, say for argument's sake, you're a carpenter, you're a bricklayer, electrician. You have a bag full of tools or a van at most, and that's it. That's it. Being a mechanic, you need the premises. You need all the lifts, you need all the diagnostic equipment, and as it's evolved, it's all subscription fees. One tool is not enough. You need dealer level platforms then if you want to specialise. You need all the hand tools, all the specialist tools. It's just endless, like it's you wouldn't say 100 grand.
You should look around here.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't say it. And this is my third attempt. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's...
But do you find the business, learning more about business, usually involves charging more per hour for your rate?
That was one of my biggest mistakes. I never charged enough.
Yeah.
I never charged for my ability or for my time. Do you know
Fair
what I
to
mean?
say you just didn't appreciate your time.
No, because sometimes we're happy enough to just fix the car. Do you know what I mean? So that's the way we used to think. Yeah, you feel no matter fixing that, you know what I mean? And it's an added bonus you got paid.
Later on.
Yeah, it's an added bonus you got paid for it. You know what I mean? But as you get older and you have responsibilities and you have kids, and it changes then, you know what I mean? And it becomes...
This has to work.
Yeah, it has to work. You know what I mean? Otherwise you can't pay the bills, you know what I mean? So
What happened then with the other two guys?
the two guys, Alan moved away to Kerry, and he works as a motor assessor. He went back to college. Lovely guy. And I'll always be very grateful to Alan for giving me the opportunity, you know, and to the Bushman. But he went to Kerry, his missus principal in the school down there, so they moved down to Killarney. And Derek went on to do something else. I think he does plans for commercial buildings, where to route wiring and plumbing and all that type of stuff. Good job, like. You know, I had a point with him before Christmas. Does miss the motor trade, but he's happy. He's happy he got out of it, you know. It just wasn't for them, you know what I mean? He'll tell you that himself. Like, he loved fixing cars, but he hated the business end of things. And again, they made all the same mistakes and pitfalls I had made along the way. Not charging enough money, you know, dealing with things wrongly, not planning ahead, you know, just all the unforeseen things, you know.
Yeah.
But I had learned from all that. And when I came in here, I was so determined to make it work, because I remember saying to me dad, will I do it? Because I wasn't going to do it. I was just going to continue what I was doing.
Did they come to you and say, we're out?
Yeah, they still had loads of work here that was unfinished. There was actually a Porsche here with the engine out of it that I had taken out of it 2.5 years previously.
Oh, holy gosh.
And I was still sitting there, and I'm onto this car back like a 911. The car wasn't that old. So there was loads of stuff to be finished, and they still had customers to be loyal to, you know. And he was in the process of moving to Kerry. Derek was gone. And they had staff here. He said, would you come in and run the place for me for 3 months? This was before I knew I was going to take over. So he just came in and started running the place for 3 months. And I could see when I was here, there was a great opportunity, and they had like a really good customer base as well, you know. And I says, this could be like a really viable business if it's ran properly, you know. So I ran it for 3 months, and things looked good. And then he asked me would I buy the place as a going concern. We done a deal on it. I bought the place as a going concern with all the equipment in it. Kept the staff that was here, and done a deal with the landlord, and that was it then, you know what I mean? I just came in one weekend and just cleaned the whole place up
To what it is, so that's so it's gone
it didn't look like this when I took over. It was like something out of the dark ages.
But definitely, like that story, that's inspirational.
Good story.
You know what I mean? So from all the knocks you've had, both personal and in business and in work life, Joe, you're still here. Let's just move into the office now to see what the difference of my own.
I'm freezing cold anyway.
We really hope you're enjoying these videos. We'd just like to take a couple of moments to thank Certa Ireland, who are the official country partner of Castrol Oil in the island of Ireland, north and south. If you do want any products, please support Certa and give them a shout. They're really supporting us here on our podcast, and they're also supporting independent garages in Ireland like you. do give him a shout if you want any cash for Lyle. Back to the video. So Chris, we're here now in the reception area of Nolan Motors.
Place is incredible.
So, from what you've just told us,
I'm stubborn. I'm stubborn. I don't give up very
you
easily.
didn't give up on your dream.
No, definitely not. I didn't. There was no way I was giving up, you know.
To hear that story for me is humbling, because one of the things the social media, the end of what I do, has brought me, it's brought me to chat with other lads and hear their stories. And even from when I met JP, met Lar, you know, going around everyone having a chat, when you actually hear the struggles other people have gone, you're going home going, what am I going?
It's not just me. Yeah.
Not only it's not just you, but you hear someone that had a different problem, and you're like, I need totally problems, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the knocks you've got, and to get back up, it is inspirational.
A lot of mechanics have similar stories, you know what I mean? Like, it's, as I said before, it's a hard trade.
Yeah.
And all it takes is a few things to go wrong, and it's hard to get back up. Like, I know loads of fellas that have just jacked it in. It's just, I can't be dealing with it. Like, the love for fixing the cars goes out the window.
Yeah.
Because when it's a business and there's so much involved, money, and you know, and then you're always away from your family. You know what I mean? You're always like who wants to be with somebody that goes to work at 8:30, 9 o'clock and doesn't come home till 1 o'clock in the morning? Like, do you know what I mean? And I was doing that for years.
When someone falls in love with you, and you're turning around, and then you're, grand, you're married, and you're trying to say, well, I need to work to provide for family, but then
That's 22.
Then the work drives you apart.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
So when I look back now, like, I'd be the type of person I'd never really give myself credit for doing anything. Like, I'll always do something, and I always want to just do it a bit better the next time, you know what I mean? Like, even when I achieve something, I'm going, right, what's next? Yeah. You know what I mean? I'll never just be settled or be, you know what I mean? I'd be just like that, you know what I mean? I don't know whether it's to do with being ADHD or, you know, just...
it's just a hunger.
Yeah, it's just, I used to lie awake in bed, knowing that my business has failed, and I always felt like a failure. Felt like I was after letting me kids down, me wife down, me parents. I was actually embarrassed as well, you know what I mean?
Just the mental torture.
Yeah, and it was actually embarrassing to have two failed businesses and having to go back working for somebody else. But maybe that was just in my head, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's how I felt. I was embarrassed, you know.
In hindsight, though, do you feel that was just part of the journey?
Yeah. No, it was part of the journey.
It was, like,
It was like, life is a journey. Nobody knows. We're all on different paths and different roads, and you know what I mean? Like, I'll never look down on another person because we're all on a different journey in life. Like, I'm not a religious person or anything, but I firmly believe we're all on a certain journey, and everybody's path is different to their destination. That's the way I look at it. But I always wanted to get where I am today, and like, I'm proud of what I've achieved here, but it has been hard. Like, I'm here, 8 years, I think. 8 years, I think.
Is that including the 2.5 you were working for the lads, or is that just since you took it over?
No, that's just here. We're here since 2017, I think. 2017. Here, the 7th of November 2017, my son's birthday, who works for me now. That's probably been my proudest moment, seeing him qualify. Like, you know what I mean? Like he got his national craft cert, and I was chuffed. I don't think I told him enough, so he's watching. No, I was very proud seeing him qualify, you know. But we had our ups and downs here at the start, like, you know what I mean? It didn't all just come together. And see, I think I learned a lot through all the mistakes, pitfalls, and I know I had some bad luck along the way as well. People driving trucks through your garage and taking your livelihood away from you. But then, like, there's a lot of good fellas in the motor trade, so I learned off of them as well, and I wasn't shy about asking fellas, how did you get to where you are, you know what I mean? That's how I met Sean, you know, through his social media, you know. I'd never take advice from anybody that's not where I want to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's just the way it would be, you know. Nowadays, it's not enough to be a good mechanic. You need to know how business works. So, like, if there's any younger mechanics watching this, fellas that are in dealerships and are thinking of going, branching out on their own, like, I'd always encourage people to go out on their own. But, like, you need to be more than just a good tech or a good mechanic.
The reward is there.
Yeah, oh no, it is there.
But a lot of people don't appreciate what you have to do in the background.
Initially, I never got into this for the money. It was never about the money. It was about the game. Yeah. I loved cars. Loved the buzz of fixing a car, listening to an engine, getting a car that doesn't start and making it run again. You know, that's what it was all about for me. Or cleaning up an old car and looking at it, just staring at the thing. You know what I mean? Like, people are just kind of weirdo. Do you know what I mean?
I get it. I get it.
So, like, business now, it's busy, so I don't get to do what I love doing as much anymore because life is so busy and I'm busy running my business. And
very different than what you want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think when you are a good mechanic, you need to charge for your skill. You have to, and I think that's the only way you'll ever get anywhere. Because if you sell yourself short, you're not going to be able to pay the bills. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean?
You've been there. You've done
I've been there. I've bought the t-shirts and I've learned from it. So, like, we wouldn't be the dearest workshop on earth, but we're certainly not the cheapest. And I'm a firm believer in, like, you need to charge for your time, you know, and for your experience. And I like to give the customer quality and value for money. You know what I mean? And I like to do things a little bit different than your average garage. I do find that some garages, they don't really take the customer's perception of value. They don't take it to heart, you know what I mean? Like,
there's a level of care.
Yeah, like when I do a car, I take it personal. You know what I mean? Like, if a car comes back here and I'm after being working on it, or one of my lads after being working on it, the most annoying thing for me is to see a comeback or a toe in. I get embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it may not be our fault, but if it is our fault, I'd be fuming. Like, I'd be fuming. I take so much pride in everything that goes out of here, you know what I mean? From a simple thing like the service sticker on the window being crooked, like a washer jet not hitting the screen.
An air bubble in that service sticker.
You know what I mean?
But you know, I think part of that, and again, without going on a tangent, it probably is something to do with the ADHD.
100%. So I think I'd say 90% of the mechanics have ADHD.
Yeah, you nearly have to have
the problem I find is 90% of the self-employed ones are.
Yeah, definitely.
And then when you're lads working for you, you can see traits and you can nearly see it in other people. And I find that lads that come to work for you that don't have it, they or lads that have never gone out on their own, or have no want to go out on their own, they seem to be more of the neurotypical person that they don't understand the people that do have it. And they're looking at us going, what's he blowing up over? You know, it's such a small thing. You know, such a small thing that car come back to you.
Yeah.
But you just, that shouldn't have come back.
Drive me around the twist.
And the lads are going, what's he getting so annoyed about?
Like, my young fella just be looking at me, think there's something wrong with me. I was on the Snap-on truck, right? And he goes, my dad loved that. And it was a thing for adjusting washer jets. Right, because he thinks I'm insane. Even though the washer jets are hitting the screen, that's good enough for him, not for me. I have to have them in the middle of the screen, point blank, perfect. And I don't like them spitting out. They have to, like, spray out with pressure. Yeah, you know what I mean? Or service stickers crooked or smudge writing or something like that. It annoy me. Even a fingerprint on a door panel after you've worked on the car, like, you know, that'll annoy me. You know what I mean?
Especially if pound the paint is rubbish. You think it was powder or not?
Yeah.
And if you put a black hand at once, it's not coming off.
Stuff like that annoys me. It's just small details, you know what I mean? But I think that's what sets you apart from other people, is just small details. And I think customers will always pick out the unimportant things. The customer never sees all the work that's done on the engine, but yet they'll see the finger mark on the service sticker, or they'll see the
No washer fluid in the washer.
handprint on the gear stick, or the service book isn't stamped. You know, them type of things, you know. Well, they would always be important to me, but I think it's you need to take pride in your name when you're running a garage.
Yeah, definitely.
100%, because it is your name. You know what I mean? It's your name over the door. Like, so when Aunt leaves here, I want to be 100% confident that it's done correctly. And I think I've reached that stage in my career now where I've accepted that I'm not the best mechanic in here anymore. Like, whereas before I would have been. You know what I mean? My brother's here now. Took me a long time to get him here. My brother's a really talented technician. I'd be a better mechanic, but he's a better technician.
Yeah.
So I've accepted that there's somebody here that has a better skill set than me now. You know what I mean? Which is a good thing to have as well, you know?
Yeah.
In modern times.
Yeah.
In older times, you would have shined more with the mechanical.
Over the last few years, I've concentrated more on how to run a business. You know what I mean? Rather than how to be a good mechanic.
Working on your business instead of working in your business.
Exactly. That's what I'm doing now, and I've learned from that over the years, you know what I mean? And then even with some of the training, yeah, I do go on the odd training course, but I would rather send one of the lads away for training now, rather than me. I'll ask questions, obviously, about how they got on or whatever. And I still do my own research, and you know what I mean? I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and ring somebody else if I have a problem, you know what I mean? To bash heads or whatever, you know? But I think to have a successful business nowadays in the motor trade, you need to know the business end of it. You need to know how all that works, you know?
If you're going out on your own.
Yeah, 100%. So if any lad that is thinking of going out on his own, it's one thing to be a good mechanic, but you need to know how to run a business, and it takes a while. It took me a long time, because I made every mistake in the book. You know what I mean? From running around trying to get money you're owed to pay wages on a Friday. Now I have the luxury of, I don't have to worry about that, without sounding big-headed. I don't have to worry about them things anymore, you know what I mean? It's being a Friday coming isn't stressful anymore. It's enjoyable, you know what I mean? And then we're going home at 2 o'clock on a Friday. Don't even work a Saturday anymore, you know, which is great. I never thought I'd get to that stage ever. You know what I mean? And I used to think it was madness, fellas, not working on a Saturday.
People don't realise that's not something you just wake up in the morning.
No, well, sure, you've just told us your story. Like, how many years did that take you?
Don't go into that one.
I'm 50 this month, like, so, like, it's...
30 years chipping away. Like.
I'm 30, yeah, I am, like.
We need 10 more years just to get to his stage.
Like, and I'm hoping now that my son will take the reins here eventually, you know what I mean? That's what I am hoping for, you know what I mean? I didn't do this over me ego.
Is there more to come for Nolan Motors?
Finish, yeah, no. By all means, no.
No near.
I'm only getting going. Like, I think I've got the garage to where I always wanted it to be, and that was to be successful without having the anxiety of where the wages are coming from, how am I going to pay me rent this month.
Yeah.
I'm lucky now, we're not at that stage. If I need equipment, I can buy it. I don't have to worry about paying me rent. I don't have to worry about paying me wages. And which is a great thing. But it has taken years of troubleshooting of why I wasn't making money, what mistakes I was making, you know. It's so important to, like, be professional, because it's such a technical trade now, more so than it ever was. And there's a lot of specialist training and equipment involved, and you know, like, if you just want to be a general mechanic and do the general maintenance, that's fine. But
yeah,
when you want to be the type of garage that is working on modern vehicles all the time, being able to maintain them and diagnose their problems correctly, you need to be able to invest. But you can only invest if you have the money to do so. But in order to have the money, you need to be charging correctly. And I think too many people got caught up with trying to undercut each other. That's one thing that would really boil me blood, because I think loads of people undersell themselves, and they're not doing themselves any justice or the customer.
No,
Because you can't
do the job.
can't do the job properly, and you can't use the right materials and equipment to do that job if you're doing it for next to nothing, because all you can get is the cheapest products. It's a false economy. You know what I mean? And I love doing what I do. You know what I mean? I'm passionate about fixing cars, like, you know. That's what it was at the start, and it still is, as much as it gets thrown into the background every now and again. And it is, like, you two guys now, it's this very stressful trade at times, like hence why I've no hair. It mustn't be that stressful. You two have a grand head there, I haven't a bleed hair at the head. But it can be a really stressful trade at times. It's like you said before, it's like going to the dentist. Nobody likes going to the dentist. It's like nobody looks forward to, I can't wait to get my car serviced, you know what I mean? So it can be a hard sell at times, you know, especially when you're trying to do things properly.
Yeah.
And that's why I think all this, the podcasts and the Instagram reels and all that is starting to educate everybody that being a mechanic isn't that simple. Running a garage business isn't that simple. And I think the more people understand that, the less stressful it'll become for everybody. If you should find out yourself, like, you come in here on a Monday morning, some people come in the doors like as if you're after running over their dog. You know what I mean? I just go, whoa, hold on a minute, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
You want to have a go with me, you didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, come here. No, that's great, and great to hear. It is encouraging. You know, no different. We all have, and we often speak to different mechanics, and not only mechanics, but different business people, about the trials and tribulations of business and the stress that can put you under, and the days that you don't actually want to get out of bed. And I spoke to mechanics the length and breadth of this country, and it's all the same thing. It's all this, you know, but it's encouraging to see everyone. They're pushing on. No one's giving up. You know, failure's not an option.
my son doesn't understand that I look forward to coming into work. You know, I do get the days where I don't want to come in, you know, I'd rather do something else, you know, stay at home or whatever, or go do a bit of training, but I still love coming into work.
Yeah.
As much as cranky as I can be, I still love it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
You might sit at home for maybe half an hour and go, I'll just go in.
I still love going onto the snap-on truck and buying a 10 spanner, even though I have loads of them. Sometimes I clean up in there and I'll just walk around the place for half an hour, just standing there looking at everything.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people
into it.
some people don't get it. You know what I mean? And I just love it, like, you know what I mean? It's just
No, fair play. And it's great to see. It's great to see. It's great to see that you still have that love for it.
well, I think if you didn't love it, it'd just break you. Like, you'd end up in a mental institution. No problem, no bother. Like, all mechanics have a little bit of madness in them, and you have to have. Even though we come across like we've no patience, we've patience in barrel loads. You know what I mean? I don't think there's ever been a good mechanic that didn't like cars.
No, you have to. The love has to be there.
Like, some guys have become an electrician. You don't wake up in the morning and go, I'd love to be able to wire the socket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without being disrespectful to an electrician, it's a great job, it's a great skill, and it pays really well. That's why most lads do it, is because it pays so well. The same with a bricklayer. You're laying blocks all day, but you're getting well paid to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas a mechanic, the money was always brutal. But you done it because you loved it. And the fellas that left it, they left it for financial reasons. Yeah. Mechanics are now well paid, which is a great thing. Because the one thing I promised myself when we got to where I wanted to be, I would pay my lads what they deserve to be paid. If I could actually pay them more money, I would. But in order for me to do that, I'd have to be charging an awful lot more money. But yeah, there has to be a balance there, you know what I mean? But you need to be going home with a wage that you can live comfortably, not be struggling on. You know what I mean? Whereas for years, when I worked in dealerships, I struggled. You know what I mean? Only for I could do an Nixa. I used my ma's garden to fix cars. You'd struggle, you know what I mean? So
I remember starting off, my brother's dying party. I couldn't go on it. And not because I didn't want to go on it. I had no money.
yeah, that was it.
You know?
And I was a little bit resentful towards other trades for years because all of my mates were in the building game. They were all earning twice as much as me.
Nah, until 2000.
You know what I mean? I'd have to nix her every Saturday if I wanted to go out on the beer, like, because my wages wasn't cutting it. You know what I mean? There's a time you put use in your car, give your ma a few quid, buy her lunch or whatever. You were nearly broke anyway. I mean, then I'm driving a big 2 litre 309 GTI. I had to put petrol in the thing. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Come here. Look, we'll wrap it up in that. Thanks so much for giving us your time.
No, but
And telling us your story. And as I say, if you did enjoy that, do get in touch with us and let us know, and we'll be more than happy. We are going on the road with this, and we're going to talk to garages the length and breadth of the country. So do give us a shout, and hopefully next week we'll see you on this. Thanks for watching.